Welcome YouTube, peace and light. As I always say, Imani na Mwanga, and I wish all of you and your peace and light to your homes and to your situation. My name is David Jonathan, and I have finally come up with a name for these episodes. So this second episode that we have now is called Preach. This will now be called Preach, the Preach episodes. Once again, if you think this video would be helpful to you or somebody that you know, please like, subscribe, and share. I want you to all know that I'm not doing these videos for monetization. If monetization happens to come along, cool, I'll accept that, and I can always go another route to making a Patreon or something later on if the subscribers go up and I advance higher. But I'm really more or less doing these videos to talk to the musicians, artists, creatives in your prospective cities that may be going through certain things or have been through some things, and using my own personal experiences, I will be able to hopefully to help you see the greatness within yourself. And at the same time, for those who don't know me, will get a chance to see who I am, and also get a kind of like a insight to who I am and what I've done. So with that being said, we're going to jump into these episodes. And so today's episode is called Cliques. And of course, for reference, I always like to be accurate about my definitions. I take definitions and words very seriously. Words have power and meaning. And when I say cliques, I'm not talking about like clicks, to go click on my website. Although you can click to like, subscribe, and share. You can click to go to my website if you want to check out, what I do with my band. I'll leave a little, something down there somewhere so you can see that. I am talking about cliques as in like groups, like a collective of people. So the definition that I have for clique is a noun: a small group of people with shared interest or other features in common who spend time together and do not readily allow others to join them. And I like underneath the definitions, usually it'll say, similar to, a circle, a inner circle, a crowd, the in crowd, a set, a group, a pack, a gang. So with that definition, you can now understand what a clique is. Now, I always like to keep, a little story, a little background story before I discuss, why it is relevant to the topic of conversation for today. And the last episode, or the first episode of Preach, we spoke about, a little bit about my background with coming up in a non-denominational church started by my mom and my aunt, who were both traveling evangelists. And I was their musician. I played piano for them. I played drums for them. It led us to a couple different places. And by the time I got older, I started to realize, you would think that your experience with cliques would be, probably in like a school setting. But actually my, preliminary introduction to cliques was actually through the church. So now in church, there was different types of cliques, different types of groups, even in church, they have different types of denominations. There's Church of God in Christ. There's AME, CME, Methodist, Jehovah's Witness. There is Presbyterian. There is, I think I said Baptist. There is Apostolic. And the church that I belonged to was non-denominational, which means we weren't really underneath anybody per se, to run the ministry. my mother and my aunt really truly believed in outreach ministry and going out to the masses of people who really needed help, and looking to serve them and help them in any way possible that they could. Sometimes they would raise offerings and then give those offerings away to people who were going through things, struggling, didn't have food, lights, all types of like street ministry. And their hearts were in the right place. It wasn't for any kind of monetary gain, you know. It was just out of the goodness of their hearts. That's what the heart of the ministry was. But because of that, you know, the doorway of entry to the music scene in my city and in a lot of cities, a lot of the times goes through the church. And a lot of times what church you belong to, or I like to say what clique you belong to, is probably usually going to be determined by, you know, it'll usually be the outcome of you as a musician who will give you the most respect. So if you're seen being a part of, and I'm just giving an example, I ain't coming down on nobody. I don't want nobody coming for me in the comments. But if you're part of Kojic, you know, most times if you're part of Kojic and you're a good musician, then you're considered like literally the creme de la creme. You're considered like the best of the best. And then from other organizations too, you know, if people seen you there, you know, they see that you somebody that they, you know, at least back in the day, I don't know how things might go now. Now it's a little different. Everybody can be their own person, but cliques, I find, still affect music in a very big way. It's not about, it's not even always about, you know, your skill set as it really is about who you know, and that's the clique aspect of things. If a group of musicians in a city, you know, they could get together and conspire that you're not good to them, you know, even if all of them didn't agree with that perspective, then that can really greatly affect the outcome of that musician being able to get work in that town or in that city. And I just never believed in cliques, because I truly believe that if you're the musician that's really studied really hard to become who you wanted to become, you know, your talent should be just undeniable. And no matter if you want to hate on me or not, you can't, because I'm better than you. But that's, as arrogant as that may sound, this is the mindset that happens. So to make a long story short, like I said, I wasn't a part of a major church or organization, so I had to really kind of work my way up. And the only way I became more popular of a musician locally, because I wasn't a part of a major church, was actually through two musicians that I want to give a shout out to. One who is currently deceased, rest in peace, Jerry Livingston. Jerry was the first person that I met when I was a young man, 16, and there was a jam session going on. And this jam session had Jerry on bass, it had DJ on drums, it had Wade Hawkins on keys, and Earl Roberson on sax. Now, I had already met Earl, because I always call Earl Unc. I already had met Earl when I was about 8 years old. My mom and us had stopped by the post office and ran right into him. And, you know, I was happy to meet him because my mom had told me so many things about him being the sax player for the Gap Band and Charlie Wilson. And that just, you know, as a young musician, I was like, that just blew my mind. So now, you know, fast forward, you know, I hadn't seen Earl. Earl, you know, didn't even realize who I was. We were at this jam session, and Jerry actually saw me with my drumstick bag and asked me to come up and play. And he said, "Hey man, you want to hit one or two with us?" And never forgot that, and got up there and played. And then we got to one of the songs where they were trading fours, and me and those guys were all trading fours with each other. And I think Jerry was just blown away. You know, he asked me a whole bunch about me afterwards. And Earl Roberson was asking questions. Man, you a cat, man. Just, you know, just giving me a lot of good, positive feedback and encouragement, and I needed that. And they start, you know, they're the type of guys that would they'll brag on you. They'll go brag. And so Earl would always go around and say, man, hey man, you heard of this drummer named Teaspoon? Hey man, you heard of this drummer? It was like this legend of who I am, this ghost. And everybody would usually ask, probably, what church do he belong to? And nobody could really answer that because I didn't play at a church that anybody would know, So that's my little background story about today's topic with cliques, because cliques can be something good. It can be a good thing if you are in a clique or a group of musicians who are really looking to go for gold, when it comes to, sharpening each other's iron, so to speak. But then there's a lot of other cliques that even if you're good, if you're not deemed to be liked by the group, then that could really affect your potential gigs, your potential outcome. And that's where cliques can be bad. And I've seen in other cities where this can also be a problem, because I remember living in Orlando, Florida, and, I was a new kid on the block, and, I wasn't trying to be extra and be nobody different. I just was being myself. And, you get people who, they'll kind of act like they're taking you under their wing to show you around. And really, it's so they can really kind of control who you are and what kind of impact you're going to have on the scene, on other people, so it would stop them from losing their gigs, because they know that it's competitive and you're coming. If here's another drummer and he's not even from here, you mean tell me he's from another city, then you might have more things to deal with. So cliques can be very instrumental, because I feel like hanging as a part of the gig, the hang is very important, because sometimes you might get the gig based off of just hanging and just being a good person and having a good vibe. And then other times, you can hang and vibe, but if they don't really want you to be taking up, snatching up gigs, they can also do a lot to be detrimental to stopping you. So, I don't know. I guess I wanted to cover this topic today because there were a lot of cliques in my city, and I was not privy to a lot of those cliques. I had to basically almost kind of start my career from the outside and work my way into my own city, because of how bad the cliques can be in my city. And my city, in case for all those that don't know, is Buffalo, New York. Now, same thing goes for beats. I was a beat maker, for a lot of those that do know me from those days. I was David J, the beat maker. And people used to, it was a garage, our garage in our backyard on Kensington was torn down, so people would cut through a lot, from the street behind to get to Kensington. And people would come up to my window, because my room was on the back end at the time, and I would make beat CDs and hand them out the back of my window. I would take beat CDs to Doris Records and to other places around town to try to get some notoriety for that. But there was also a clique that was pretty much associated with, the who's who of beat making too, that I obviously was not privy to. So once again, it's like sometimes these cliques make you feel like you got to pay your dues to get to, become the upper echelons. It's strange. It can be a strange place. And I was an introverted kid growing up. I just loved music. I was surrounded by it. I was in, we didn't have a TV in the living room. Like my dad literally had a record player, a tape player, and a CD player, all in a big console, right? And he had like 6 speakers lined up around the entire living room. So any given day you could walk by our house on Kensington and hear music coming out of the house, because my dad was frequently listening to all types of music. And that's really what helped inspire me to continue my hunger for music. So as a young, you know, kind of shy, you know, kid, you know, introverted, I became more extroverted when I realized I would have to go and shake hands and meet people and such. And not knowing that the obstacle of a clique was going to be something that would get in the way or try to get in my way to stop me from succeeding. So in closing, what I would say, my best advice for anybody would be, don't look at all cliques as bad. You know, some cliques are good, and some of those cliques you need to be around, because when people see that you're good for the hang and they're good people too with good intentions, that could be a doorway for you to get a lot of gigs. That helps keep you hungry as well. Also though, and on a flip side of that, be careful. Be careful of who you befriend, starting out as a young musician. Be careful. Try to really make sure you almost got to treat getting to know people and to hang like relationships. And of course, that young, you're not really understanding relationships yet. But, you know, even if it's just relationships of friendships, you know, see who's really, you know, is the person or group that you're hanging around, are they dogging other people out? You know, are they talking a lot of stuff to everybody? Or, you know, are they, you know, what's happening there? You know, what's going on? Is it something that you, like for instance, if you're going to be a part of a group and people are, you know, dogging each other out, that's probably not the place for you, because they're going to expect you to laugh and joke and poke fun at the people too. And you might not even know those people, but you'll poke fun because you want to fit in. And when you do that, that's going to, you know, really affect, you know, that person might have been a good person. That might have been a person that you needed to connect with. But because you already marked your territory in the sand because you don't want to not fit in, which means if you didn't fit in, that you weren't going to have gigs. So with that being said, keep in mind, you know, these kind of things when you get involved with cliques or when you get to talking to people, because it can really affect you as a musician. I hope that these episodes serve to give you my own personal experiences with some of these things. Just to give you a little insight on the topics that I would love to talk about. I have some other topics. You know, one of the topics I'm going to talk about is, are you really as good as you think? That's going to be a future episode. Another episode is going to be my beef with cover tunes. Another episode I plan to do is stop underselling yourself. What is success? Sideman versus band leader. Settling into your own style. Kids or no kids. Once again, all of these topics are kind of really discussing a lot of artists, music, creative topics, you know, about how you can become better at what you're trying to do, you know, even if it's content creation. If you have any suggestions of topics that you would like covered, I'm here for it. You know, I'm like I said, I'm really not, you know, everything is so monetized driven nowadays, and you got to like sell your soul to get a buck. But, you know, shout out to the content creators who are just making content because, you know what, the knowledge needs to be out there. And you see so much bad content where the knowledge is not, people are just really giving you their opinions, and they're not, and sometimes they lying about that. Like, I don't have time for that, man. I just want to see people do good. I want to see people make money. I want to see people do well. And this is one of the mottos I live by. This was a gift from a person. And if you can see that, it says, kind people are my kind of people. It's a coffee mug that I like to put my coffee and tea in. Remember that, you know, that kind people they should be your kind of people. Peace and light to you all. Appreciate you stopping in. If this content helps you, if it helps somebody else, like, share, subscribe, leave some comments. I will respond to them personally. And I'm out. Peace.